Ladies and gentlemen, a few very interesting things have occurred on Bitcoin in the last 24 hours, namely a fake out below support that got people quite scared, but ultimately it ended up being a fake out, and ultimately the support is still held. So we need to update you on that situation and update you as well on what people are thinking right now. I did a YouTube community poll yesterday and the results are quite interesting in my opinion, and then also looking briefly into the macro, just recapping information there. But what actually happened yesterday? Why was there such fear in the market for a brief period of time there? Well, in order to understand that, you need to understand the Bitcoin chart. Let's just briefly skim over it here. 67K in pink is a very important level. I'm going to delete these two levels down here. I'm going to delete the all-time high level. I'm just going to leave in 67K. Leave in the red resistance box, which is the upper resistance of this range, okay, between 71.3 and 72K, and leave in various triangle or linear lines, okay? This is all that really matters right now. 67K being the neckline of resistance that we were facing throughout this part of the larger range, okay, this part right here, and the neckline being from the inverted head and shoulders pattern that we formed at that part of the range. So 67K, or that rough price region, it's not an exact level, it's a vague price region around the 67K level. It even could stem as low as 66.4K, but that vague price region there at that pink line is our horizontal support zone. It's our neckline of this range. If we were to drop below 67K, we would re-enter the bottom half of this range, which we saw basically a month and a half consolidation below, and that's a part of the range where we were in danger of ending the bull market. So right now we're still above the neckline of the middle of this range, and so we're still in a good position here for Bitcoin. But again, the reason why people got scared, if we flip through to the 4-hourly chart, and this is the exact same chart here, by the way, it's just 4-hourly chart, a 4-hourly time frame. You can see we very briefly dropped below an ascending support line in yellow. That stems back from May 2nd. So we had an ascending support line that was holding Bitcoin upwards, and we very briefly, just for a couple of hours, dropped below that line in a swift wick and kind of touched that support zone. But you know, a lot of people entered short positions and things like that. I saw it all over Twitter and all over my group chat on Telegram. But I was saying the entire time, you know, we haven't actually broken below the neckline itself. Like, yeah, the ascending support line is broken at that point, but the neckline was still intact. And that led me to believe that the support line wasn't actually broken at all, and that this was a fake out move until there was confirmation of breaking down below the actual neckline, the pink level at 67K. That move was never a real move. You can see very clearly just by looking at the volume profile on the right-hand side of the screen, massive spikes in the volume profile stemming all the way down to 66.4K. You know, until we broke below that level, I was not convinced that that drop was a real drop at all. In fact, right now on Bitcoin, I don't see a bearish structure at all. I actually see quite a bullish structure. And the reason why I think this drop occurred, well, firstly, it was just a regular retest of support. But secondly, it was just the US markets, guys. The US markets, as you can see, this is the S&P 500. On the daily candle, they opened and we went all the way down very, very swiftly on a wick, but ended up closing very high, actually higher than where we started. So the US markets kind of faked out to the downside, did a little liquidity grab down there. It sent Bitcoin down below the support line, not quite below the support zone though, and ultimately led to that fake out. But rest assured that it's just very clear. In fact, there's no doubt about it that everything is still intact. And I mean, that's especially clear by the fact that if we zoom into the Bitcoin chart on the 4-hourly chart, for example, we can see that the candle closed, the 4-hourly candle actually closed on the support line. So that support line is still being respected, even though we dropped below it. And that's why I'm leaving it in here. I've still got it on the screen for that reason. If we're going to 4-hourly chart RSI, we can see something very clear. So just to recap, because that support line is still holding, I'm still expecting the apex at around whenever it is, right, in the middle of June to hold true. I still expect Bitcoin to be moving shortly, okay? But even if we want to get a little bit more precise, we can look at the 4-hourly chart RSI. Ignore the yellow line here. Look at the red triangle on the 4-hourly chart RSI. Very clearly in some sort of consolidation pattern, some sort of even descending triangle pattern. But given the fact that the descending triangle's support is layered with the support coming through from the neckline at 67K, which is held for continuous retests over the course of 2 weeks, as well as this ascending support line, I don't think the fact that it's a descending triangle, which is traditionally a bearish pattern, really means anything. I'm just looking at it as a triangle formation. But you know, right now what I'm saying is, for me personally, given that we've faked out below these lines now on the price chart, I'm looking at this 4-hourly chart triangle formation on the RSI to show direction on Bitcoin. Breaking that to the upside would be excellent news. Breaking it to the downside would be very bad news. And on the daily chart RSI, I can say a very similar thing. Again, ignore the red lines. I'm going to delete them. But on the daily chart RSI, we've got a similar line. It's a yellow resistance line. in order to confirm that Bitcoin is going to be breaking to the upwards to new all-time highs, we want to be doing a couple of things. Well, first and foremost, we want to be breaking the red box, of course, at 71 to 72K, but we also want to be breaking this RSI descending resistance line. And I would say that if we break that RSI descending resistance line, it becomes very likely that we will go on to break the red box. I hope that makes sense. That's kind of our trigger line on the daily chart RSI and also on the 4-hourly chart RSI that I just looked at. So there's a few things to look at. I'm just rattling them off here so you can put them on your own charts and you can pay attention to them yourselves. But I hope you understand now that I've recapped the information here or gone over the information that this little wick we saw yesterday, this little fake out wick, wasn't detrimental to the structure at all. The structure is still very much intact. And if anything, it was just a regular retest of support. It's just a coincidence or an unfortunate series of events that we ended up going below the line to do that. And that was driven, in my opinion, by what happened with traditional markets yesterday. But I don't think it has any real repercussions for the Bitcoin chart. I still think the Bitcoin chart looks good. And the macro still looks excellent. I mean, we look at Ethereum, this isn't necessarily macro, but it's different chart. Ethereum's still holding its support line very, very well through continued retests there. Bitcoin dominance is holding support as of current on the weekly chart RSI line, as well as this yellow resistance line, okay, which stems all the way back from this little, if it loads in, wick over here in 2016. So a very long-term descending resistance line. We broke to the upside, we'll come down, we've done a resistance support flip on it. And given the fact that Bitcoin dominance is on support and Bitcoin is on support, those things generally bounce together. I know we made a video recently discussing altcoin season starting soon. I'd be wanting to see confirmation of this RSI breaking down for that to occur. As I mentioned in the video, I think it's likely, very, very likely it starts soon, if not has started already. But right now, given the charts, I'm not 100% confident in that. But what I am saying is that this chart being on support, with Bitcoin being on support, is a good thing for both of them. That's what I'm saying. And then moving forward, and again, we'll discuss altcoin season more extensively when we do have the charting confirmation. And just to recap one more time, right? I'm not saying that I don't think an altcoin season will start soon. I think it will start soon. I'm just saying that when Bitcoin dominance is on support, as well as Bitcoin being on support, that is generally a good sign for the Bitcoin chart. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Moving forward, finally. In terms of macro, I mean actual macro now, very clear, it's very clear. Bitcoin's on massive support here. It's got a 13-year long ascending support line in red on the screen. If you zoom all the way up to what's happened with that line, you can see very clearly we retested that line for support on the lowest wick a couple of weeks ago on Bitcoin. Very clean retest. Another thing, Bitcoin's bull market support band retested along in conjunction with that 13-year support line. Another thing, Bitcoin's what do we got here? The Pi cycle center lines in yellow and green on the screen. These are lines, just like the bull market support band, that held throughout the entirety of prior bull markets, held throughout 2017, held throughout 2020, held throughout even back here in parts of 2012, 2013. These are very important lines, and we retested those lines perfectly and saw a great bounce off of them. So until all these lines are broken, which basically is until Bitcoin breaks below something like 59K, 60K, it's moving upwards at the moment. Bitcoin's intact on the macro. The macro is not a problem. The macro has not been a problem for a long period of time. In fact, that drop down we saw very recently, 257K, was an excellent macro retest. There was nothing bad about that whatsoever. The point of concern, the point that people are getting a little bit worried about on Bitcoin is very clearly the medium term. Okay, will the 67K level hold? Will this pink line hold? That's what people care about. Because obviously, if we drop below that pink line, we will be re-entering this part of the range, which was the downside part of the range, and we could be seeing months, not months, but we could be seeing, further consolidation, and we could be seeing Bitcoin, again, retesting the macro levels that do matter. Hence, Bitcoin will be under threat if we do drop below that pink line. So obviously, we don't want Bitcoin to be under threat. We want Bitcoin to avoid threat. And so it's within the best interest of us for Bitcoin not to correct further here, to hold this level of support. That's in the best interest of us as investors who want to see a macro bull market. Do I think that will occur? I think that is the likely scenario. I haven't changed my mind on that. I do think it's the likely scenario that Bitcoin holds this pink line. I don't think it's certain, not at all. Things that are likely fail quite often, but the fact of the matter is I think the data proves that it's likely that Bitcoin will hold this pink line. And again, when I said I'm not saying this is where you should be longing 100x, I'm saying that is the scenarios that I'm seeing. Those are the probabilities that I'm seeing. And it's interesting because it seems most people agree with me, right? And most analysts and also most people in the community. You know, I've got 63% of people in my community here saying that Bitcoin will break to new all-time highs next. And then 37% saying that we'll break down below 60K next. So the way I interpret that data, given the fact that I've just said to you that for Bitcoin to be macro bearish, we need to drop below 60K. The way I interpret this data is that, or this poll is that 37% of people think that Bitcoin's in a bear market. That's what I think the data is or think Bitcoin will be entering a bear market. So that's quite interesting, right? Because a lot of people have this impression that Bitcoin's super macro bullish right now and everyone's bullish on Bitcoin. That's what people think, or at least that's what I think people think. But the reality is actually 37% of people, even in my community, and I'm a person who's constantly talking about how bullish Bitcoin is, 37% of people actually think Bitcoin's in a bear market. So don't overestimate, how many people you think are bullish. If you're one of those people who says, oh, the majority is always wrong, and you think that 90% of people being bullish means the market's going to go down, well, I'd actually challenge the data there. I'd challenge the idea that 90% of people are bullish. The poll that I've got on a YouTube channel that has a bullish bias is telling you that 37% of people, which is a large amount of people, are actually bearish on the market right now. So yeah, I think there's a difference here between the reality and the perception of what's going on in terms of people's sentiment. But overall, in terms of this video, just concluding here, Bitcoin had a little fake out to the downside. It didn't sustain. It didn't lead to any actual permanent downside move or any real medium-term repercussions at all. In fact, Bitcoin is still in the same position it was 2 days ago. So guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. On that note, we'll end the video. But before we do so, check out the 3 exchanges here: Bitunix, BingX, and BitGet, okay? Bitunix, you can sign up with literally 15 seconds of work with an email address and a password. It's global, non-KYC, no VPN required. Using my link below, you'll get a 15% trading fee discount, as well as access to thousands of dollars, literally $5,500, it says right there on the screen, in rewards just with my link down below. So check it out if you're interested, guys. And then also, if you want a more well-known exchange, BitGet and BingX are down there as well, and they all fit different niches. So take your pick. We've got the Crypto Academy's Become a Trader 10-unit course bull market sale for a limited time. If you want to take advantage of that bull market sale and get educated on trading, now is the time to do it. All the information is on the website. And finally, the VIP group where we do altcoin trading signals on Telegram 4 to 5 times a week. Altcoin trading signals with buy signals, recommended, stop loss, take profit, all these kind of things. It's there on Telegram. You can use the link down below and get access to the information group. Through that group, you can join the actual group. In the information, it goes over what you're actually getting, which is a group chat, okay, to discuss the market and discuss the trading signals, and also the trading signals themselves. So check that out if you're interested. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you soon.